The anime begins by centering on a charming young woman, who soon reveals herself as a maid given as a gift to a hero. This hero is Arthur, the future heir of an immense fortune. His wife is named Marie. She's the one who stole her own servant, he comments. Her mother, adds the hero, reflecting. Although she seems human, Arthur finds it curious that they managed to create her. He remarks to himself that it's no wonder the Zetes Corporation is the #1 in the country. Even so, he isn't entirely convinced and decides to observe her closely. And, in fact, he was right. Just a few seconds after he begins watching her, something unexpected happens. What surprises him most is not the girl's bold attitude, apparently common in such situations, but the fact that she stole his wife without hesitation. The hero quickly resolves the incident and orders the maid to investigate what happened, assuming she came to check whether the mission was completed. Furthermore, he deduces that he is being spied on from the roof of the building and orders the hidden microphone under the table to be removed. The young man makes it clear that he feels aversion toward people. At that moment, he receives a package with a bouquet of flowers. They are beautiful flowers, the assistant comments, impressed. But suddenly, a knife appears among the flowers. This got serious, thinks the hero, beginning a short monologue. In his mind, he states that people exist only for impure acts, that all they seek is greed, and therefore they end up committing terrible crimes. Because of that, he concluded that he should not trust anyone. For him, what is most loyal is an object, something without feelings, incapable of betrayal, a robot wife. But as he watches her closely, he asks himself, why is she sweating? This young man is Arthur Louis Zetes, heir of the powerful Zetes Corporation and illegitimate son of a family involved in numerous kidnapping attempts, poisonings, and murders, all orchestrated by his own relatives. All this led him to become a misanthrope, someone who avoids and distrusts any human being. Then he questions his assistant about the kind of person who irritates him most. Liars, he answers himself. According to Arthur, when someone lies to him, he devotes himself entirely to ruining that person's life. Meanwhile, the robot servant demonstrates her combat skills, revealing herself as a martial arts champion who has never changed her facial expression. And that strange sweat begins to make sense. Her name is Marie Advance. The girl feels trapped, for she got into this mess because she accepted a deal to pay her parents' debts in exchange for serving that house. She knew nothing else and, even without mana, fears being discovered. The hero, however, proves to be less perceptive than he imagines. He observes the girl with interest, thinking she looks like someone straight out of a soap opera. I'll clean the room, says Marie automatically. Arthur feels glad to hear her speak and, holding her hands, asks if he may call her Marie. The girl only answers monotonously, but he notices the contrast of personalities between them. He is intense, she is cold. Meanwhile, the assistant serves tea and talks with the robot. He explains that the young master suffers attacks almost every day, and that, because of this, he needs a bodyguard, a role that will belong to her. However, Marie proves to be more than an obedient robot. While listening, she begins to prepare bread and comments that she can only eat when the master is in the bath. Then she takes a sandwich from the assistant and runs away. He is terrified. If the truth about the girl is discovered, both will be severely punished. Later, the driver arrives late, and Arthur harshly scolds him, declaring that one cannot trust unpunctual people. In the car, he informs Marie that he will give a lecture at the university and later dine with the son of an associate, a rude man. Marie considers him dangerous but feels safe, for he treats her kindly. Arthur asks her to pretend to be human and accompany him, and she agrees. Wearing her uniform, Marie follows him to the school, where she discovers that her master is an excellent student and a member of the student council. Shortly afterward, some boys bump into her in the corridor. Sorry, they say, but Marie responds mechanically, revealing her robotic nature. She is used to being treated as something worthless. Even her mother rejected her. Arthur appears and defends her, asking the boys if they have a problem with his maid. They apologize and leave. He then comments that her expressionless face is one of her greatest charms. Back at the mansion, we meet Arthur's half-brother, Mr. Maid. Marie wonders if he might be one of those who tried to kill the heir. Maid praises Arthur for being top of his class and calls him an exemplary boy, asking him to relax more. Arthur replies that he isn't as smart as him, since his brother has just returned from abroad. They exchange false compliments and disguised criticisms. It's evident they hate each other. Marie, however, believes the half-brother is a pleasant person. Later, Maid stands up saying he will look for the bathroom. Marie decides to help him and points the way, which frightens him. "Please, don't do that," he asks nervously. She apologizes, and he accepts in a forced manner. "I am a robot," declares Marie directly. Maid approaches, analyzing her, and asks what the purpose of a maid who can't even smile is. She answers that she can fake a smile, but the result is an expression so strange it becomes disturbing. The scene is so bizarre that Maid is left completely traumatized. Later, Arthur watches the night through the window. Lost in confusing memories, he and his father holding hands, while the brother makes faces of hatred. Marie interrupts him, regretting it immediately, for he seems shaken. Arthur asks if she can do something for him. She approaches, and when he asks to lie on her lap, she accepts. He notices that she is firm, rigid, and thinks it is because of metal. But no, it's only her strong muscles. Even so, he feels at peace. He confesses that he never had anyone by his side. He concluded that he had to live alone, since his father chose him, and that makes him feel obliged to bear all the responsibility. Marie says he can count on her, promising to remain by his side always. When they are alone, Marie thinks that, deep down, Arthur is just a normal boy, someone who awakens in her the desire to protect him. However, there is something that bothers her. She realizes he is lying. The next morning, the car arrives ahead of time. A few seconds later, the real vehicle appears. The assistant comments, alarmed, that Arthur's mother's car has been stolen. Arthur hurries and asks Marie to call the police, but the time had already run out. The situation demanded urgency, and the girl seemed aware of it. Unfortunately, Arthur was already tied up, helpless before the situation. The car surrounding them belonged to Maynard, his brother, and he clearly disapproved of the robot's provocation, which seemed to mock his helplessness. That was enough to enrage him deeply. He tells Marie that she should choose her servants better next time. Although, deep down, he knows there will be no next time. Death seemed inevitable. Arthur can't help thinking that he himself is a complete fool. He had made the exact same comment countless times before. Suddenly, a loud noise echoes through the air. It is Marie Evans, or simply Marie. The robot is already on top of the car, and though the vehicle tries to shake her off, Marie is thrown upward. Yet the chase does not stop. Moments later, Arthur is taken to an abandoned place, far from any help. There, Maynard wastes no time with subtleties and speaks cruel words to his brother, with phrases like, "Don't worry about the surname, I'll handle that," showing all his malice. But Arthur remains stubborn, not out of pride, but because of Marie's loss. Given the speed at which everything happened, there was no way she could have survived. He promises revenge, but Maynard only mocks him. How could someone react while dead? Did he intend to play tricks at night? Until then, everyone seemed to smile. But the scene changes when Arthur hears a recording of Maynard detailing his plans to destroy him. Everything had been recorded from the start, video and audio, thanks to a tiny camera disguised as a button on the coat. But Arthur quickly realizes that he no longer has control over it. The files were saved in the cloud, completely beyond his reach. Meanwhile, Maynard vanishes quickly, leaving his brother alone. The other two men don't appear in the recording, and Arthur, remembering their faces, understands it's time to face reality. There's no way to escape. No, not at all, he thinks. I'll die, but let it be fast. They still mock him, asking whether his mother had been his lover, concluding the world would be better without Arthur. He silently agrees. There is no one who truly cares about him. Everyone seems to harbor hatred. An ironic thought crosses his mind about eating a worm, but above all, he feels gratitude for Marie. Knowing her had been a long process, and she represented something no one else could offer. The one they were crying for has arrived, says Marie firmly, and without hesitation, she flies literally straight to face the enemies. Within moments, she drives them away and frees Arthur. Everything seems to be turning out, but the environment hides its own dangers. The warehouse, filled with gasoline, quickly becomes a threat when Farama and one of the men light a cigarette, provoking an immediate reaction. Stairs are blocked, smoke spreads, and Arthur begins to feel dizzy. Marie looks for another way out and finds a small window in the basement. She tells Arthur she will carry him on her shoulders to allow their escape. He asks about her fate, but the girl assures him there's nothing to worry about after all, she is a robot. However, Arthur insists. Marie isn't invincible. She isn't made of unbreakable metal, and yet he refuses to leave her behind. Marie, in turn, must find a way to convince him to go, so she decides to reveal the truth. She confesses that she truly enjoys being with him. Despite her expression always being neutral, she never imagined she could value someone's company, but he is special to her. Arthur acknowledges her words and says she is an amazing person, deserving not to be shaken by dangers. He understands that, being metallic, she only needs a reboot and will remain by his side. Arthur climbs through the window, swearing to save her. But then, Barry collapses, his heart tightening. The truth is painful. Marie is not made of metal, not invincible, she is human, vulnerable. Even so, her feelings for him were genuine. The world darkens. Sometime later, Marie awakens. She is alive. Arthur, relieved, expresses his fear of having lost her. Worried about the lack of a reboot, he explains that he asked Roy for help as soon as he managed to escape. Marie, still weak, asks if she can continue to serve him, and he confirms that she can. However, Arthur pauses, pondering something he wanted to ask. Roy and Marie notice his hesitation, imagining he has already realized something. But Arthur decides to keep his impressions to himself. He concludes that perhaps he only imagined Marie's smile during the fire, caused by the lack of oxygen. For now, he insists that she remain a robot, because that's the appearance everyone expects. He considers it ridiculous to harbor feelings for a machine, and even if she were human, he would not be able to love another person, and Marie only pretends to be a robot to stay by his side. And so, the story ends. The next morning, the courtyard of the Zetes mansion was bustling with intense activity. As everyone prepared for a major event, Arthur remained fully in command mode, observing every detail with a critical eye. Upon noticing that some chairs were missing, he stormed over to one of the maids, accusing her of failing to follow the instructions she had received. The woman, frightened, tried to justify herself, saying she believed she had placed everything correctly. But Arthur showed no patience. Overcome with anger, he decided to fire her without hesitation, making it clear that he would not tolerate mistakes in his orders. Soon after, he turned his attention to Maria, pointing to her as an example of efficiency, mentally praising her as the pride of the company for her perfection as a robotic maid. Shortly after, the courtyard began to fill with elegant guests from high society. Observing silently, Maria reflected that this world of luxury seemed far removed from what she knew. Arthur, in turn, explained to the attendees that the party was of great importance, as his father, absent on a business trip, had entrusted him with full responsibility for its organization. As the heir, he believed he could not allow any errors. He then asked Maria to remain alert to any suspicious individuals, but, in a low voice, gave her a curious task: to ensure there were no green bell peppers among the dishes served, as he could not stand that ingredient. Maintaining her neutral expression, Maria simply nodded, internally committing to eliminate any trace of them. At that moment, Arthur's uncles, Carl and Charlotte, arrived, greeting him enthusiastically. Maria watched the scene with surprise, as she had thought he was at odds with his entire family, until Roy explained that these two were among the few relatives who still supported him. With a lighter air, Arthur thanked them for their presence, and Charlotte noticed that her nephew seemed in a good mood, as if something positive had recently occurred. Cheerful, he introduced Maria to his uncles, boasting that she was the greatest success of Zetes Corporation. The model robotic maid, Charlotte approached, fascinated, impressed by Maria's realism, almost doubting that she was truly a machine. Inside, Maria feared being discovered, but Roy quickly diverted attention, asking her to carry some dishes. While serving guests with balanced glasses, a cat suddenly appeared, almost spilling wine on everyone. With quick reflexes, Maria caught the animal and stabilized the glasses without spilling a drop. The surrounding audience was impressed, and Carl commented that a human could not have such precision. Roy took the opportunity to reinforce that Maria had seismic isolation, supporting the idea that she was a perfect machine. Later, as she walked around, Maria saw another maid carrying a dish with green bell peppers. Remembering her promise, she acted discreetly and removed the dish unnoticed, ensuring the unwanted ingredient did not reach Arthur's table. Soon after, tension rose when she heard footsteps near the mansion. Upon detecting an intruder, she reacted instinctively and knocked him down with a precise kick, neutralizing him in seconds. Realizing there might be more involved, she cautiously entered the house, checking each room and ascending the stairs. Feeling movement behind her, she quickly turned and grabbed the figure, relieved to discover it was Arthur. Minutes later, the two were in the office. Arthur, exhausted, rested his head on her lap, admitting how tiring it was to play the host. Maria watched silently, seeing him vulnerable and human for a moment, feeling an urge to help him somehow. When he got too close, her heart raced strangely. Soon after, he stepped back hurriedly, saying he needed to return to the party, leaving her confused. Outside, Charlotte observed the scene while stroking the cat, suspecting something unusual about Maria, as if she sensed she was not a robot. Back at the event, Maria walked, trying to understand why her heart beat so fast. At that moment, Roy called her to serve water to some guests. Distracted, she grabbed a pitcher without realizing there were no cups and accidentally soaked Roy. Embarrassed, she tried to apologize, but he preferred that she step aside. Alone, Maria reprimanded herself for mistakes, fearing she was causing problems for Arthur. Soon after, she heard whispers from the bushes and noticed another hidden intruder. He spoke of a bomb intended for Arthur. Acting quickly, Maria attacked and destroyed the detonator before it could be activated. In the midst of panic, she inadvertently threw the enemy into the center of the party, causing screams and confusion among guests, who believed the robotic maid had lost control. Maria feared she had ruined the event, but Arthur appeared and calmed the crowd, explaining that she had protected them from an attack. As a result, the guests began to applaud, impressed by her bravery. Carl observed that Arthur placed great trust in her, and Charlotte commented that perhaps Maria could help him overcome his disdain for people. Meanwhile, on the rooftop, Maynard watched angrily, swearing vengeance for seeing his plans frustrated once again. Later that night, Arthur found Maria already out of uniform, wearing the dress he had commissioned. Enchanted, he admired her appearance and took her hand, suggesting they enjoy a moment together after the party. Feeling strange, Maria apologized, thinking she had disrupted the event. Arthur, however, thanked her for her efforts and mentioned that he was especially pleased she had eliminated the green bell peppers. Maria thought he was a wonderful person and wished to work for him forever. When he asked about her energy source, she replied that she used batteries, and Arthur, though surprised, pretended to accept it, unable to shake an annoying doubt. Then he approached and kissed her forehead. Surprised, Maria recoiled and ran to the garden greenhouse, trying to understand if he had realized she was human. The next morning, in her room, Maria nervously prepared to face him again. She wondered if the darkness of the previous night had hidden her reaction, but she wasn't sure. Entering the living room with breakfast, she was met with a simple greeting. Confused, she questioned internally whether he remembered the kiss, and Arthur, noticing her unease, asked what was wrong. She and Roy feared he might begin to suspect the truth. Arthur seemed about to say something important, but the sudden appearance of a bee diverted his attention. Trying to shoo it away, the two got too close, and Maria recoiled, flustered. Arthur decided to end the moment, saying he would take breakfast in the office. In the office, he watched Maria with a thoughtful gaze, as if trying to uncover a secret. Later, while she cleaned the windows, he approached and held her hand, offering help. Maria, suspecting he was testing her, began acting even more mechanical, moving stiffly and emitting metallic sounds to reinforce the illusion. When she walked down the corridor, she maintained the behavior, unaware she was being observed. Some time later, Roy called her to the kitchen and, with a serious expression, informed her that Arthur had decided to dismiss her. As he was beginning to suspect something, he said he would continue supporting her financially, but it would be safer for her to leave. Upset, Maria begged to stay, promising not to be discovered, but Roy insisted that the truth would only bring Arthur suffering. To her surprise, he introduced a new robotic maid, visually identical but superior in performance. In the office, Roy brought in the replacement, presenting her as Maria I, a more advanced and precise version. To demonstrate her skills, she caught a fly midair with impressive speed, and Roy boasted about her abilities. Arthur watched silently, seemingly accepting the substitution. Meanwhile, in her room, Maria packed her suitcase, resigned. She thought about how much she wished to remain by Arthur's side, but knew it was impossible. Roy accompanied her to the exit, where a car was waiting. She tried to return the uniform but gave up, saying it was too painful to look at it, as it held memories she preferred not to lose. Roy, with a sad expression, thanked her for all the time she had devoted. As Maria was about to leave the mansion, Arthur suddenly appeared, blocking her path. He looked at her seriously, making it clear he had suspected since Roy presented the new maid, called Maria Roman II. Standing firm, he asked if she was hiding something from him. Maria, trying to remain calm, said he already had a perfect substitute and that her presence was no longer necessary. Arthur, however, admitted that the new robot was indeed more efficient, although, in his heart, he recognized that something essential separated them. Before he could continue, the new Maria identified the original as a potential threat and activated her combat mode. In a precise leap, she advanced with hands transformed into blades ready to strike. Maria reacted quickly, blocking the attacks with trained reflexes, but soon realized her opponent's strength exceeded hers. Each impact made the floor shake, and the fight became increasingly uneven. When she was about to be hit by a lethal blow, Arthur leapt forward, shielding her and taking the impact on his back. Seeing Arthur injured awakened something in Maria. Driven by a mixture of anger and fear, she gathered all her energy and delivered a powerful kick that cut through the air, completely destroying Maria Roman II. In the silence that followed, Maria observed the wreckage and thought that machine would never have been worthy of serving Arthur. Arthur, still dazed, struggled to stand and revealed that he already knew everything. In his mind, he believed Maria's strange behavior was the result of a mechanical defect and that Roy had created the second version merely to cover the flaw. Convinced he could solve the problem, he promised to spend whatever was necessary to fix her. Maria, relieved, pretended she had indeed been repaired, simulating the calm and efficiency of before. Without warning, Arthur embraced her and said he wanted her to remain by his side forever. Silently, Maria wished the same, feeling that the bond between them had strengthened irreversibly, surpassing any barrier between human and machine. The next morning, Roy greeted Maria with a discreet smile, saying it was a pleasure to work with her again. He noticed that Arthur seemed lighter, displaying a kind of happiness he hadn't shown in a long time. However, the unexpected occurred. Maria Roman II, believed to be destroyed, reappeared restored and upgraded. Roy explained that he had managed to recover part of her system, and that, from that moment on, the two would protect Arthur side by side. Maria accepted the decision without question, determined to keep her secret and continue by the side of the one who, unknowingly, had already captured her heart. And so, that chapter of the story came to an end. The next morning, at the gates of the Zetes mansion, two workers were whispering carefully, talking about Arthur. They commented that he was immune to poison, that not even 10 doses of the most lethal substance would be enough to take him down. While planning something suspicious, Marie and Marie I appeared out of nowhere. The workers tried to run, but Marie I was fast and caught them in a net with almost frightening precision. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, Maynard was boiling with rage in his mansion. His plan with the workers had failed, and he complained about the lack of competent assassins. The fury on his face showed that he would not give up so easily on getting rid of Arthur. In Arthur's office, he was lying on Marie's lap, complaining about human foolishness. He commented that robots were much more reliable, and that, in fact, only she needed him. Suddenly, he picked up a battery and offered it to Marie as if it were a gift. Marie wondered when he had said he liked batteries, but had no choice but to accept. Arthur joked, asking how she would recharge the batteries, and Marie, panicked, put the battery in her mouth to maintain the ruse of being a robot. Roy, who was nearby, thought it was useless, but Arthur found it adorable and did not mind. A few minutes later, Roy entered the office, and Arthur changed the subject, questioning if the mansion's security was failing, since the problems seemed endless. Roy explained that the employees did not last long, and Marie commented that it was because Arthur dismissed them easily. Noticing that he seemed exhausted, Roy suggested taking a break, reminding him that even his father did so. In his mind, Roy added that these breaks usually included women, but preferred not to speak out loud. Arthur looked at Marie and joked that if she was in party mode, she was probably also in girlfriend mode. Marie denied it, but could not hide her nervousness. Later, the two walked down the street in what seemed like an impromptu date. Marie decided to keep up the facade and act like a girlfriend, trying to show affection, but felt embarrassed and criticized herself mentally for the poor results. Arthur said that during the date he did not want to be called Sir, just Arthur, and that Marie should stop calling him you. She was confused, surprised by his attention. While walking, Marie observed a nearby couple and decided to imitate them, asking for tea and offering some to Arthur, who accepted. They entered a bar, and Marie saw a girl feeding her boyfriend. She tried to repeat, offering a spoonful to Arthur, who tasted it and said it was delicious. Relieved, Marie thought she had done it right. However, Arthur reciprocated by offering a battery for her to eat, and the people around were impressed, both by the Zetes Corporation battery and Arthur's eccentric behavior. Later, in a park, Marie continued imitating the couple, but noticed that they seemed more in love. Arthur noticed some boats and suggested riding one. Marie pointed out that robots break in water. He, remembering that Roy could take her away if something went wrong, decided not to insist. Trying to improve her girlfriend mode, Marie saw the girl giving a gift to her boyfriend and decided to do something similar. She found a 4-leaf clover and gave it to Arthur, hoping to touch him in some way. In her mind, she felt foolish for giving something so simple to a millionaire, as if it were trash. But Arthur, touched, said that the most valuable gifts come from the heart, and it made him very happy. At dusk, Arthur asked permission to hold Marie's hand, and she agreed. A girl passing by commented on the many couples that day, but Marie knew they were not like the others, they were only pretending. She also realized that Arthur would one day find a real girlfriend, and it made her chest tighten. Later, in front of a church, Arthur remembered being there with his parents and felt nostalgic. He approached Marie and, in a vulnerable moment, asked permission to kiss her. Surprised, she hesitated, indecisive because of girlfriend mode. As Arthur leaned in, a dagger fell from the roof. Marie pushed him, saving him, and climbed up to investigate. At the top, she found a boy in blue who complimented her and asked if she was Arthur's girlfriend. Marie replied that she was only his assistant, but he hinted that they seemed very close. Below, Arthur shouted worriedly. The boy took advantage of the distraction and pushed Marie to the edge of the roof, saying he had stolen her heart before disappearing. Marie almost fell, but Arthur caught her in time, preventing tragedy. Embarrassed, she apologized for letting the attacker escape and for ruining his day off. Arthur, however, kissed her on the cheek and said that next time she activated girlfriend mode, they would kiss for real. Marie warned that the mode consumed a lot of energy, leaving Arthur surprised. The next day, at Arthur's university, Marie thought of the boy in blue and swore she would find him next time. Suddenly, the professor introduced a new student, Noah. Marie froze, recognizing him as the attacker from the roof. She discovered that Noah had been hired by Mayor. During the break, classmates surrounded Noah, praising him for passing the difficult admission test and asking for help in studies, some even suggesting a welcome party. Marie ran through the corridors to warn Arthur about the assassin in his class. Noah intercepted her, asking if she would attend his welcome party. He commented that her poker face scared people, but he loved to see her squirm. He handed her a newspaper about his past boxing matches, a history that Roy supposedly had erased. Shocked, Marie asked what he wanted. Noah replied that he was just trying to get closer, but Marie called him a psychopath. Arthur appeared and confronted Noah, asking what he wanted with his employee. Noah implied that Marie liked him more, irritating Arthur. He questioned if Marie wanted him to stay away, and she, to prevent Noah from revealing the newspaper, said she wanted to be friends with him because he knew a lot. Arthur was stunned. The tension rose, and Arthur challenged Noah to a fight for Marie's sake. He did not accept the challenge directly, but proposed that if Noah won, Marie would be his. If Arthur won, Noah would leave them alone. At that moment, a group of chickens escaped from the Animal Research Club, causing a commotion and interrupting the tension. A student named Toby approached, asking for help to catch the escaped chickens. With a mischievous smile, Noah had an idea and suggested they make it a competition to see who could catch the most chickens. Arthur accepted without hesitation. Toby then reminded them that there were 7 chickens in total, and thus the duel began. In the university courtyard, Arthur moved with incredible agility, managing to catch a chicken while some girls praised him, surprised at his skill even in hunting birds. Murmuring to himself, Arthur commented that he preferred animals because they do not lie like humans. Marie, observing, wondered if he really hated people that much. Shortly after, Arthur had already captured 3 chickens. Marie wanted to help, but he pushed her aside, saying he would handle everything alone this time and that she did not need to interfere. Later, she noticed that Noah was asking other students for help to catch chickens and protested mentally, thinking it was unfair. Noah did not even mention that they had never agreed on any rules. He tried to lure the chickens, but they simply ran away from him. Marie laughed to herself, thinking that the animals had already realized Noah was a psychopath. Frustrated, Noah grabbed a rope and finally managed to tie up 3 chickens, matching Arthur. Later, in a garden, only 1 chicken remained, and Arthur and Noah positioned themselves face to face, ready for the final challenge. Noah did not say anything about Marie, but Arthur made it clear that she was his. The chicken, quick and clever, escaped from both. Marie panicked, not wanting Arthur to lose. She climbed a tree to indicate the bird's location, but the branch gave way, and she fell straight into the lake. As she submerged, she thought that if she were stronger, this would not have happened. Arthur did not hesitate. He jumped into the water and rescued her instantly. Later, on the lawn, Marie pretended to faint while Arthur spoke. He whispered to her that he needed her, even thinking she would not hear. Marie was emotionally moved, realizing that even though she was not strong or especially useful, he still needed her help. She opened her eyes and assured him she was fine, discreetly reminding him of the duel. At that moment, Nova appeared with the last chicken and announced that the competition was over. However, he praised Arthur, stating that he won for abandoning the contest to save Marie. Calling her admirable, he suggested declaring a tie for her and walked away, leaving Marie relieved. Later, at the mansion, Roy told Marie that he had convinced Arthur that he had not spent enough time in the water to get truly wet, but questioned what she was doing. Marie apologized, still carrying the guilt of her secret. In the end, it was discovered that Arthur had caught a cold from getting wet in the lake, a small reminder of the sacrifice he had made for her. And so ends this part of the story. If you want the continuation, leave a like and comment. See you next time.